Leon David Dorsey was born on November 17, 1975, in Dallas, Texas. He started his criminal career at a very tender age. Dorsey at age 12 moved to Waxahachie to live with his grandparents after he was booted from Germany, where his mother was stationed in the Air Force. Records show when he was 14 he took a gun to school and fired it. At 16, he fired at a couple driving in a car. He'd walk down the street with a sawed-off shotgun tied to his arm and with a coat on and then just throw it open just to see the reaction of people. Around midnight on April 4, 1994, two employees at a Blockbuster video store in Dallas at a Casa Linda Plaza shopping center were robbed of only $392 and murdered. The in-store video camera recorded the crime and shows that the perpetrator was a black male with short hair. The two employees were forced into a back room, where the video shows them speaking briefly before being killed. Brad Lindsay was shot once in the back. Employee James Armstrong was shot twice. Later that day, Leon David Dorsey, a Waxahachie gang member, admitted committing the robbery and murders to his girlfriend, Arietta Washington, and to an acquaintance, Antoine Hamilton. In an interview with a newspaper reporter, Dorsey stated that he had burned the jacket he had worn that night and would not disclose the location of the murder weapon. Washington braided extensions into Dorsey's hair as a disguise. Later that week, she reported Dorsey's admissions to the police. The police interviewed Dorsey, but he denied any involvement. At the time, police erroneously believed that Dorsey was too tall to be the perpetrator, and he was not charged with the crime, which remained unsolved until the case was reopened by a veteran detective in 1998. During the 1998 investigation, police sent the videotape of the robbery murder to the FBI for an analysis of the perpetrator's height. Based on the new estimate of the perpetrator's height and accurate information about Dorsey's height, police questioned Dorsey again, and he confessed. While awaiting trial, Dorsey again confessed to this offense during an interview with Dallas Morning News reporter Jason Sickles. In the interview, Dorsey blamed the victims for their deaths and said they could be alive today. But they didn't use their choice wisely, he said. Dorsey told the reporter that he feels no remorse for killing James Armstrong and Brad Lindsay. He said their families should not dwell on their deaths, comparing it to losing $1,000 in a craps game. They're dead. That's over and done with, he said. Why are you going to sit there and worry yourself about that? Move on. I could have came in here and been, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so bad. But I don't feel like that. That's not being honest with myself. Dorsey told Mr. Sickles that he was drunk and high when he went to the Blockbuster in search of cash and that one of the men probably angered him, but he doesn't remember who or how. One of them had to be bumping me or talking shit, he said. One of them did, or I wouldn't have did it like that. I killed the second person because the first person fucked up. I had a tendency to dehumanize a person in a situation, Dorsey said. If I was robbing you, and you studied up, I could fuck you up and say that was business. If you cooperated, you could walk away from it easily. A week before trial, Dorsey admitted committing the murders to a fellow inmate. Dorsey, whose nickname was Pistol Pete, also sent a letter to another inmate, Roderick Finley, offering him $5,000 to take the blame for the murders. The police had previously suspected Finney of committing the crime. In all, Dorsey confessed to 5 different persons: his girlfriend, an acquaintance, the police, a news reporter, and a fellow inmate. In addition, the videotape depicted the perpetrator as a black male of medium build with short hair, wearing a multicolored jacket. Washington and Hamilton both testified that the distinctive jacket of unusual design and colors worn by the shooter in the videotape looked just like one often worn by Dorsey before the offense. They also stated that they never saw Dorsey wear that particular jacket after the offense. Washington also testified that Dorsey wore his hair in the same style as that of the shooter at the time of the offense, but that she had altered the appearance of Dorsey's hair after the offense by adding braid extensions. Dorsey told the reporter that he wishes he'd never opened his mouth around her. "It ain't my homeboys that turned on me," he said. "It's this bitch that I used to put $100 shoes on her feet and take care of her kids. She better hope I never get out of this penitentiary." According to the FBI expert who analyzed the videotape, the shooter was between 5'7" tall and 6 feet tall. Dorsey is 5'10" tall. 5 months after the video store killings, Dorsey killed a 51-year-old Korean woman, Hyun Sik-chon, at the convenience store she managed in Ennis, south of Dallas. Dorsey and a co-defendant entered a food store, fatally shooting the woman, then fled the scene with an unknown amount of money. He was in prison serving a 60-year sentence for that slaying when he was questioned again about the double slaying and confessed. Dorsey was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death in May 2000. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals affirmed Dorsey's conviction and sentence on October 2, 2002. The U.S. Supreme Court denied Dorsey's petition for writ of certiorari on June 23, 2003. Dorsey filed a petition for state writ of habeas corpus on May 6, 2002. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals adopted the trial court's findings and denied relief on February 18, 2004. Dorsey filed his federal habeas petition on December 17, 2004. On July 31, 2006, the federal district court denied Dorsey's petition for federal habeas relief. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the federal district court's denial of federal habeas relief on July 30, 2007. The U.S. Supreme Court denied Dorsey's petition for certiorari review on February 25, 2008. The victims' families say Dorsey's profane explanations mean little to them now. "That is just about par for the course," said Greg Armstrong, James Armstrong's brother. "If he has no remorse about it, then he deserves the death penalty." Joan Lindsay Coleman said she has felt better than she has in 4 years, finally knowing who killed her son. "I'll feel even better when I watch him die," she said. "They'd better not screw this up. Now that they've got him, they'd better kill him." During his time in prison, Dorsey has racked up almost 100 disciplinary records, including stabbing an officer 14 times with a homemade knife, or shank. The officer's flak vest saved him from serious injury. Leon Dorsey was executed on August 12, 2008, at the age of 32. For the murders of 2 Blockbuster video employees during a robbery 14 years before his execution. In Dallas, Texas. He was 18 years when he committed the crimes. According to the TDCJ, Dorsey had made threats that he would harm corrections officers prior to his execution, but he did not put up any fight when taken to the execution chamber. In his final statement, Dorsey said, "I love all y'all. I forgive all y'all and I'll see y'all when you get there. Do what you're gonna do." Dorsey said, "Hey sis," acknowledging the presence of his sister. When the execution witnesses filed in, but he did not direct any comments to the parents of his victims who witnessed the execution. The lethal injection was then started. He was pronounced dead at 6:27 p.m. According to the Huntsville item, Brad Lindsay's mother Joan Coleman did not make a formal statement following the execution. James Armstrong's parents Gerald and Nancy Armstrong released a letter to the media. "Losing James has been and always will be painful. It doesn't get any easier, but we've gotten stronger," the letter read. "Viewing Dorsey's execution will not bring any happiness, but we've lived to see justice for James 14 years later and we pray for Dorsey's father." In a segment of the letter which appears to have been written by Nancy Armstrong, more detail is offered regarding her feelings about Dorsey. "While Gerald has said it was different for him, I have struggled with forgiving Dorsey for killing our son," she said. "Perhaps Dorsey is as evil as Charles Manson and has no remorse, but I knew that I had to forgive him. I could do it in my head, but not in my heart. Thank you for watching Death Row." Today's video is sponsored by Nobility.co.uk, the leading company in selling legal titles in the United Kingdom. Get a 10% discount in any purchase by mentioning Death Row.
Here in the UK, there are two types of titles. Firstly, there are peerages, which are granted by the Queen. These are not allowed to be sold. Secondly, there are manorial feudal titles. These were once based on land ownership. However, since 1925, titles have been separate from the land itself, with the introduction of the Law of Property Act 1925. Here is the UK government website showing what titles are legal. Manorial feudal titles are regarded as inheritable property, which any nationality worldwide can purchase. Companies selling seated titles or titles with tiny plots of land whilst sounding good are in fact by law novelty souvenirs, not real, genuine titles. Legally approved by UK trading standards, barristers and a UK law lord, no other company has a law lord ruling, 100% legal and proper. You can add your title to passports, bank cards, etc. Even American and Canadian citizens can add the title to their passports on the observation page. All UK and foreign titles have passed 12 legal security checks before offering them for sale. Buy with confidence from the #1 title broker in the world, established 1996. Compliant with Privacy Data Protection Act 2018, the Honours Prevention and Abuses Act and Law of Property Act 1925. All processed through UK solicitors. Strictly private and confidential.